I'd like to welcome you to today's webcast about the secrets of successful analytics leaders.
Yeah, so what I would like to talk about today, first of all, I want to personally welcome you in this webinar. I see a lot of people have signed up and I'm very enthusiastic to share my experience and my insight that I've gained over the last 20 years. What I do hope out of this presentation, it will inspire you to do a next step. The next step is something you have not done before. And I hope you will be able to share it with us as well, and maybe you make us part of your journey. Having that said, I want to go back first, about 20 years ago, when I did my first challenge. Being a student, going into a beer company, Heineken, everybody knows the company, it's of course a great ride to be at. And going back in time, it also means we have to go back to the brown bottles of Heineken that some of you might have known, but also advanced computers look like this, where you see big monitors, old-fashioned 311 screens, where we were still carrying around 3.5-inch floppies around to make sure software would work somewhere. So that's a different age and a different time. But we're so excited about this project, I could work on it for about 12 months, combining my Master of Science degree together with an actual application project in a company, physically being present at the company. And I could challenge myself in mathematics, but also I can do something new that has not been done before, which of course is always exciting if you're coming from academic background. So what we've done, using also visualization that I'm already using AIMMS, we were actually visualize what we're doing for the breweries. We were creating Gantt charts, schedules of the brewery houses. We were understanding what needed to be brewed, what needed to be bottled, and we could see beer flowing in and out of cellars, as you can see right here, for example, the graphic. So we felt we had a great tool going. We had a great tool that could not only optimize and make production better, more efficient, but it would also help end users to understand what was really going on. But something was going wrong there. I was very happy. I could apply my mathematics. The people who assigned me on the project were very happy because they saw better results. We had the visuals all in there, and we know now how visualization is so important, but end users were not really happy. There was a disconnect between the end users and actual creators, myself and some of the other people in the organization. And that disconnect is so important. If you have a disconnect, it's going to be very, very hard to be successful. And I think a big disconnect at the time was that we forgot to really include the people who were using the tool. That we also made it too much of a black box. Although we gave the solution, why was the solution there? What could we do? So it's key for us to make sure we start connecting. We start connecting with what we do on different levels. So typically what we tend to do is we start to shout louder. I have something great. I tell you even more about it. I'm going to even use better words or bigger words, because then people will finally understand me. Another thing what we tend to do, and I did the same, we try to work harder, make more hours. You know, if we show we're committed, we show we do a lot of work, it must be good, right? If we put all the hours in there, we don't do that for no reason. We do that because we believe in it. The other thing what we can do, of course, we can work smarter. If we show that we're very smart, you know, then people must accept it. But also that's a challenge, because people don't want to be told that you can be smarter to the people who are actually doing the work. If you're going to give them solutions and you tell them that you have smarter solutions, did they do their job wrong? Another disconnect is possible there. And then the alternative is to maybe find better solutions. If the solution you created doesn't work, let's create another solution. Maybe that fits better. Or try another solution. It's a lot of trial and error. But in the end, it's communicating with the end user. What do they really need? And what you also tend to see, if that solution doesn't work, but I have my skills, maybe I need to find another problem and solve that problem and see if that solution will fit. So it could be an iterative process that still is trying to find a connection. But it's all very analytical driven typically. And what you tend to see with analytical people, numerical people, mathematical people, you know, if you look at the brain of somebody, we're typically left brain oriented. We love numbers, we like logic, we like reason, we understand the best solution is the best solution, just accept it. But if you look at more end user people who come from a more practical side or management, they like to use their gut feeling. They understand logic maybe, but they want to put other stuff on top of it. They want to put it more humanized. They love graphical visualizations, but they also like to interpret the visualization, want to see what's behind there. And if you don't make that connection, if you don't get into the, it needs to feel good first, it is the best solution, you again create a disconnect. So in fact, like Einstein said, it's the rational mind that tries to solve all the problems, but there's a big intuitive mind, and that's a sacred gift. It's something that you need to combine. You need to humanize what you're creating. You need to humanize to make sure you create a connection with what's created and what will be serviced. So in fact, that means you need to start building bridges. And bridges can come from many directions. I think this is a great picture. You don't start on the left side and go to the other side. No, you start on both sides and maybe in the middle, because there are a lot of intrinsic parts that need to connect with each other. They need to understand what's happening. They need to understand where somebody wants to go, how many roads you want to build, what's the gravity of the weight, and all that type of stuff. You need to understand the bigger picture together. And it also means, what are you loving? If you're in the analytics space or in the mathematical space, are you loving business, or are you just loving analytics for the analytics? Or if you're in the business space, do you love business? Do you not really care about the analytics, but just want to have answers or best solutions? Who's the beauty and who's the geek? And it's very important, I think, in this sense, that we need to marry those people. They need to bring stuff together, bring their problems together, share their ideas, and by that, lift to the next level. And in fact, it means it's all hands on deck. If you're on the same board, everybody will have their role. And somebody needs to trim the sails, somebody needs to do the steering. All these things need to work very well together. You need to know what your task is, but you need to also know how that fits in the bigger picture. And I think it's very key to do that. And looking back at what I've done at the time, a lot of these things were not answered. Looking now back at Heidegger, they're doing great jobs. And it's amazing how they have advanced over time. And it's amazing if you see how they integrate all these different levels that we've discussed as well today. So let's go through a few successful connections that I've seen with some of our clients. And just a few cases that I think could inspire you. And they might not directly relate to your business, but I think if you look at the concept, it could be very helpful. A very interesting one is Midwest ISO. Midwest ISO is an energy distributor, in fact, in the Midwest of America. They service about 40 million end users. They have about 1,000 power plants with 750 companies in control, 146,000 megawatts, which is huge. And what they need to do, they need to make sure everything works well together, that everybody benefits from how the energy is distributed. But most importantly, they want to make sure energy cost is as low as possible, while companies have good profits and they can be in business. And that requires a good incentive from everybody to participate. And what they created town hall meetings to get that clear to everybody, so people wanted to participate is very key. The other thing what they did is they made it very clear how the benefits, whether they're qualitative or quantitative, how they were demonstrated. And in fact, you can read this all in the internet. They can exactly tell you how much money they make out of doing better, and also therefore how much better they will do for their end users. So there's a lot of commitment from everybody to be part of this. And it's also earned them, by the way, the Edelman Award, which is a big award, of course, in the informed society. If you're not familiar with that, it's kind of the Grammys of operations, research, analytics, mathematics. Another also winner, by the way, of Edelman is TNT, and they took a different route. And what's interesting about TNT Express, and this was based out of the Netherlands, they had in Europe a package and delivery on the road and air optimization problem. They needed to make sure they were more efficient because fuel costs were going up. And they need to understand how the network works and how to use their resources in a better way, which means maybe shutting down airports, rerouting different things. But what happened there when they started to do that, they saw there's a lot of potential in really digesting the data and understanding you can put business rules in it and can get benefits from it. But they also realized if they do that all centrally, and just a few people, it's not going to be very powerful for the organization. So what they decided to do, they decided to do two things. They started to create communities of practice, the COPs, which comes together 3 times a year, where people from the field, from management, from analytics, but also from academia or maybe peer groups come together and see what's happening right now with the organization and where they can do better. But how they know why they can do better, they have also created the GO Academy, the Global Optimization Academy. And people in the field can go through this academy and have a 2-year program to understand what analytics optimization could do for the organization. They can start to recognize problems in the field and go back to the centers of practice, or communities of practice, and bring forward a new change that they see in the organization and become part of the change. So they're really empowering the people in the organization, but also giving them a new leverage of knowledge and understanding. So they're really putting a system in place in the whole organization, which I think is tremendously valuable. After that, what they've done as well, TNT, they started to participate in the North Star Alliance. And the North Star Alliance is an organization that supports healthcare in Africa. And the knowledge of TNT and ORTEC and technology of AIMMS has been put in place there to use the same type of problems that you have in the commercial logistics area to put it also in the logistics area in Africa, where truckers are driving around through Africa. A lot of the truckers are sick, they either HIV or AIDS or other diseases, and they need to make sure they have healthcare. And they have healthcare over miles and miles of roads through different countries, so they need to have portable cabins there. And to optimize that, it's very important to do that in a good sense, because the better you optimize, the better the healthcare will be for these people, the better life expectancy and life care they have. And putting those truckers first in this case, I think, was very crucial, because it made sure that everybody would participate, everybody saw the value. It's not just about the money, what you create in your own company, it's also how can you do and learn what you do good and put it somewhere else. I think it's a great testament to adding the power of optimization analytics into the society. A totally different setup is ASML. ASML has adapted on a very high level in the organization. In fact, right on the board level, they've created a decision support group that is following a decision dialogue process developed by SDG, the Strategic Decision Group out of Stanford. And normally the decision process would just be an iterative process of talking to each other, presenting to each other, and doing all these things, which is already very powerful. Every decision you make, you want to make sure you have due diligence on the decision, you understand the alternatives. But what they've included in this, they included the whole analytical world as well. So they added AIMMS technology to rapidly prototype certain problems, or even make production solutions out of that. So the full analytics became part high up in the organization. And there are very big decisions that a company like that has to make. They're building these big chip machines, and a chip machine is not a machine of $1 or $2 million. They're big investments, and they depend very much on what the market would do, what their belief is in the systems, and all of the things you have to somehow manage risk on. If you have this process, but you have also the insights of analytics and data, you can in fact bring the pure data together with your ideas about the market together in a very iterative and perfect way. And having done all that, of course, when you want to connect on these things, you have to make sure things look nice. If they don't look nice, it's very hard to be able to that you think they will taste nice. It's like being in an airplane. If I get my food in an airplane, and I get them quite a lot of times I'm not very enthusiastic about the food. I might be hungry, so I might eat some, but I'd rather have the dish on the right side. And that's exactly the same with solutions. Here you see exactly the same solution where we had a starter screen on the left side built by some technical folks that are really focused on the model. The model was perfect, but if you go to the end user side, you want to make sure the end user feels well about it. So on the right side, you see the same application built with a new interface, and here the end user is being supported by nice graphics to see how the support and operations planning is working out for him. But he also gets a thumbs up when things work well. So they get enthusiastic, they get rewarded with what they're doing, so they see they're doing well. And that brings the acceptance of a solution much faster. And what we've done ourselves more and more is what we call the war room principle, or prototyping and connect. We bring a lot of people of the organizations together. We take R&D people from our side who build actually the technology of AIMMS. We put client support people there. We put the client itself there. We put partners there. And from the client side, we not only put the end users there, we also put IT there. Or we put finance there. Because anything you will typically do with analytics has a big impact on your actual competitiveness, or on finance, or on things you want to do in the future. If you bring them together, what's nice about this is that you get a common understanding of the problem, but you also get common commitment on what you want to achieve. And you can very quickly iterate on things you like or dislike. So it's kind of the Scrum Agile methodology that we're starting to use with our customers, which is very, very cool. So what does that mean to you? What could you do? I think it's time to look at that a little bit. And I think what is important when you start looking at being successful using analytics in your organization, I think what's very important is to understand who is who. Gartner says there's 3 types of people. Other people say there are 2 types of people. But I like the 3 types. There's an evangelist, there's a skeptic, and a pragmatist. And all 3 people will be there in your organization. You have to understand who they are and how you make them part of a team. You should not leave them out, you should embrace them. The evangelist will help you sell. The skeptic will make sure you stay on track and you're not doing things that are unrealistic. The pragmatist will make sure that you will do actual execution, you get results, and you don't make it too big. And bringing this combination together, understanding who's who and who you are yourself, will help you be more successful in creating solutions and creating change in the organization. And it also means you have to be very clear on what you believe. What's your core purpose? What do you want to achieve? What is your value? How do you want to do these things? What do you believe in if you do stuff? And what's very important when you think about that, it's very easily said, but you really have to ask yourself, why do I believe this? Why? And ask it 3 times, because the deeper you go, the better understanding you will get about your reasoning, but also the better understanding other people will get about your reasoning. And make sure that other people ask you why you want to do that. Because if you get that clear, you will get much more engagement with different people. You get a better connection on what you would like to achieve. And it's also important to understand where you are. And there are all kinds of methodologies to do that. Very practical. Inform has an analytical maturity model where they look at the different processes at your organization, at your analytical capabilities, data infrastructure. Probably that can be mentioned more. But it's good to know where you are right now. Make like a zero assessment. And then try to understand and try to define where you would like to be and when you would like to be where. You cannot make big steps in one go, make small steps. But also discuss that with the team. See if you're at the same page and see if you believe that you want to maybe increase in people. You need more resources, or you want to improve analytical skills, or you first have to look at the data, or it's a combination of the two. If you can be very clear on that, you can have very good, clear success criteria. You can really advance every time. And every time you will advance a little step, it will add to the business value. It will add to the credibility of what you're doing. And I think what's also important is not just look internally within your group, your analytics group, but look outside. As I said before with, for example, the Warren concept, great to be an analytic group, to do great stuff and wait for an answer to come in, but it's also good to reach out, and to reach out beyond the typical people that you reach out to. IT is it's an organization you typically reach out to, or you try to avoid, depending on the organization. Or business definitely is something you want to reach out to, but you would also like them to come to you. But there are many people around you, like HR. If you want to change something, you need HR. You need to understand what type of people you need. You maybe even need to have legal, because it might have an impact on how you do business if you decide on something different. It could mean you have to divest on a certain product, because you find out an analytic that's needed. Well, better to get legal involved, because you will have customers that might need to know about that. Or there could be things in the market out there. And of course, it's not only internally in your business, it's also externally. Find peers in the organization, whether they're competitor or not, depending on who you can talk to. But there are great organizations like AIMMS, like Gartner, like Informs, where you will find peers of you that have maybe similar problems, or maybe different problems that will help you solve problems that you've not seen before. And it can inspire you as well to do different things. Don't put everything cast in stone. Develop while you go. And in that sense, it's very important to develop a dialogue. And developing a dialogue means reflect. Reflect on yourself. What am I doing? Why am I doing the things? But also share what you're doing. Share where you have your struggles. Share where things you believe are going well. Share where you feel others need to maybe step up. But I think what's very important in this dialogue is that you are very clear on the intent. Don't just look at results. Are results well or not well? And tell them this has to be better, it has to be worse. No. Go back to the end. What is it that we're trying to achieve, and why is it not working? Should we maybe change some of the parameters? Should we maybe change some of the first steps that we're doing, so we get in fact the results and we get the actual dialogue going, and we have an open mind and an open space to discuss that. And this is easier said than done, but it's something we see every time we do with our clients. It's so valuable, because suddenly everything on the table. And if you really put a lot of people in the room that have a stake, and there are a lot of people typically have a stake in changing the organization, it's good to have a voice of them. And then, of course, it's good, specifically as an analytics manager or as somebody from this field, where do you actually see value? You have to be very clear about that as well, I believe. We have the systems of records, the SAPs, the database, everything you have on there. It's all great. You can look at those. But, we're here in the systems of differentiation. We are trying to differentiate from what we've done before. In fact, if you look at the AIMMS side, we're even trying to innovate. We're really trying to make a next step. We want to make sure we're not just going in the path that we did before. We want to explore new routes. And that new route, that has to have a clear idea about what you could do. But you have to be very knowledgeable about that as well. And you have to find out how you could do that. How people will look at you and say, okay, that's great, we are a system innovation, but how do we do that? And maybe you need to find coaches around you, or you may have to make it maybe an open question, so who can help? But trying to get there, I think, is very important, because that will really change the organization. If you're doing just the standard stuff, I think analytics will not become much better. If you show you can differentiate, if you can show you can innovate, and by that have big impact on the organization, you will be there for life. Not that you maybe want that, but analytics will be there for life. So it's important to, in my eyes, to develop a vision. This is our vision, but to share it and to act upon it. How we came from a desktop environment that you saw before with the first picture, where you had these floppy drives that were moving back and forth. It was very welcome at the time because it was very easy for us to reach the end user, to show them the software. Then we went to AIMMS Pro, where we have a distributed platform, but we feel it's still not good enough. We feel we need to much more collaborate. We need to be much more flexible in using technology. We need to be much more self-service. People get so developed right now with all the devices that they have. They are so knowledgeable about BI, but they also have bigger questions. Questions become more complex. And you cannot solve problems alone. If we can support that collaboration, it's going to be crucial, I think, to advancing analytics in the whole. And that, of course, holds the same for you. How do you see analytics grow? How do you see analytics evolve in your organization or in the market? And how can you then act upon it and make that change happen? And for me, that is not just about an actual manager doing that. It's about anybody in the organization who has analytical skills or has a belief that analytics can help. And I've seen many people over the time that started out as an engineer or as an analyst or as even a mathematician that were just coding. They had an epiphany and they really could drive change in the organization, and by that they could implement. They got the chance to implement it, and by that they really were transforming organizations. And they did very well within the organizations, but they also did very well for the organization. I think that's a great testament. That's what I would love to see, is that optimization analytics becomes much more an ingrained part in all parts of the organization. So having said that, it's a lot of words, and I think I have no mathematical formulas, except the first one was more a graphical formula. I think a lot of it that we see nowadays, and I see nowadays, is of course we need to have the tools, and of course we need to have the data scientists, and of course we need to know what's all possible, but I think by now that's a given. We can get it on the market. We have the tools available. I think what is so important right now to make it really next step is to really start making that connection. And that connection starts with you reaching out, with you being vulnerable, with you being open and transparent about what you would like to achieve. And that you is also me. That's what we try to do as an organization. We try to be open and transparent with our clients. What can and what can we not do, what do and what do we not believe in, so we can tackle the problems. And maybe we are wrong with not believing something. Maybe we're right about believing something, but at least it starts a dialogue to spawn new things and to start and put seeds in the ground and start new things in the organization, and therefore transform the organization, I think, to a higher level. Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, Gert-Jan. And hopefully this topic provided some interesting examples and gave you some things to think about. And now we come to the Q&A portion of the webinar, and we'll take a few questions as time allows. If you have a question for Gert-Jan, you can submit your questions using the Q&A tab in the GoToMeeting control panel now. And we actually have a few that have come in. So, Gert-Jan, you mentioned in the TNT Express communities of practice, how long did it take them to implement that?
That's a good question. Although I do not have the exact details there, but we can find it out for you. It took them a few years to do that. But I must say, and they have, by the way, they have a great book about it as well, about the Code Academy, so they write about that as well, is they really took it to the far limit. They really created a complete academy with an actual degree. They worked together with the Tilburg University. They really make it established with the organization. If you look at the whole broad spectrum, it probably took 2 to 3 years to really make it happen. But then now they have a program that's really part of the system that keeps on going every year.
And is that something that's growing in popularity in companies, that idea of communities of practice?
Well, definitely, I think it should be growing. Taking it to this limit, I have not seen it many cases, or not people being so open about it, but what you do typically see right now is a lot of center of excellence, of course, where people bring data science, analytical people together, but also look at how they get connected with the business. So there's this layer of business analyst versus, call it advanced analyst, and they work very well together, and they come together on a regular basis to advance the business.
And what is the most, another question came in, what is the most important soft skill for an analytics leader? It's an interesting question.
Yeah. To be honest, for me it's very simple. You need to care. It's very plain and simple. If you don't care about the person sitting across from you who's having a problem, hopefully he's sitting next to you, not across from you. If you don't really care, I think it's not going to work. You're not get the connection. You're not get anywhere.
And so a related question, what do you look for in a great analytics manager? So some of the great leaders that you've spoken to at some of our customers.
Yeah, it's interesting. Also, good questions. So for me, great leaders are, and it has to do maybe also with the caring, they have to be very open-minded. They have to not be stuck in this is what I want to achieve, has to happen. So I talked about the vision, but the vision is not actual point how you do it. It's about where you would like to go, but you have to be open and open-minded to maybe change. You know, things change every day. And if you do that and you're receptive for that, you know, I think you're going to be great.
And lots of great questions coming in here. Let's see, there's a question about how do you show some success stories from my industry to convince the top guys? And I'd like to jump on that one and say we actually have some great case studies on our website, AIMMS.com, so feel free to check those out under resources. We also have some demos and white papers, but I would say just in general to collect some of those materials and then pitch your story. What would you say, John?
Yeah, I think, Sam, you know, this is a typical thing that we get a lot, and it's an interesting question as well because people love to see references, but the question is why do they want to have reference? They want to feel comfortable that they're taking the right step. And that's another trait, I think, for a good analytics or, in fact, a good business manager. Sometimes you also have to take risks because typically what we do is differentiation, is innovation. It's something that's not done before, but something similar has been done. So if you want to have something off the shelf, buy something off the shelf. But you know, there's so many examples that we can show and that other people can show that optimization analytics does work. So we need to just pull from that and show them. But it's more like, okay, that's great, we have that, but let's go into a dialogue with them. What are they really after? Do they want to change? Do they want to get something, or do they just need reference? I think that's a dialogue you have to have.
And then here's an interesting one. What is your view that a data scientist is not an analytics team leader, and should a tactical data scientist be a separate role from a strategic team lead who holds the soft skills to lead and engage those to contribute or benefit from the analytic function? So I guess, like, how does the data scientist fit in? That's a big one. That's a big one.
So I don't know if, what comes in top of my head. I think we should not cast that stuff in stone. I think that's going to be very hard, and it very much. And that's also why I didn't go into the technical skills at this point in time. I went to the personal skills. I think personal skills are crucial to be successful. And of course, it's great if you have data science background. If you are a manager, because you will understand parts of that. That's part of the communication. It's part of the connection. If you're totally coming from a different planet, I think it's going to be pretty tough. But if you have a very open mind, you're receptive, and you're understanding, and you're empowering people, you know, it can work great. So there's not an or. It's a combination of and depending on the situation. It's not a good answer. It doesn't help. But.
Okay, so lots of good questions. Thank you so much, everyone. We're just going to end with this one last one. So you talked about the war room idea for prototyping, and that's certainly something that AIMMS has started doing with our clients, and we've seen some great benefits. What are some of the time savings in using that type of war room concept for prototyping, and are there any potential pitfalls in going that route?
All right, another good question. Yeah, so definitely. So if you look at time saving, of course, it's hard to measure because that's also why it's kind of a war room concept. But what we've seen happening right now, that within 1 or 2 days, by sitting down the R&D departments, the client support, it doesn't have to be R&D, but it can also be client support partners together with clients. Within 2 days, we could consider 9 concepts that they were thinking about. And of course, you can go in a whole mode of having all kinds of meetings and trying to understand what everything is happening. But if everybody's together, you have this pressure cooker. And after 9 ideas, you can say, well, this is important. We want to invest in that. I think that's a time saver in itself. First of all, time saver because you already connect on the subject. You believe in the subject. You don't have to convince people that this is important. The other thing, you have looked at 9 things at the same time. So I think that's a very, very big time saver. And if you can go faster to market, it's a money saver as well. Because the sooner you can implement stuff, the sooner you can benefit from it, the sooner you can start to change your organization. And the other question, the side question was, are there any challenges or pitfalls?
Yeah.
Well, the pitfall could be not every organization really likes this type of work. They need to have everything processed. They need to have everything time boxed. They need to have everything written down exactly. So it could be a clash of culture where a group of people really want to make this change, but they lose the connection with the organization. And that sometimes is a big challenge. They really want to, but they can't. And then we still do it because they believe in it, but in the end it still falls flat. And that's a challenge. So you need to make sure from day one almost that you have the right people on board. Don't do it just in small groups. Make sure you have commitment high up on people who are deciding on the next steps.
Great. Well, thank you so much. We've had so many questions come in, but it looks like we're out of time. So for the questions that we didn't get to, we'll actually try to contact you individually and try to answer those questions, or feel free to reach out to us. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us, and we hope that you enjoyed the information presented today. A big thank you to our presenter, John, for a very informative webcast.
Thank you.
And we're going to be sending out a link to the video within the next week, so be on the lookout for that email. If you have any question for John or for AIMMS after this webinar, please feel free to reach out to John directly.